Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a simple idea, one that changed the entire direction of my life when I first heard it. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall right into someone else's plan. And can you guess what they might have planned for you? Not much. I learned early that life will offer you two choices: drift with the currents or set your own sail. And most people, unfortunately, drift, not because they aren't capable of more, but because they never stop long enough to design the machinery that directs their days. See, we live in a world right now with more tools than ever before, more apps, more books, more advice, more information, and yet people feel more overwhelmed, more distracted, and more confused. Why? Because they're trying to build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation. They're trying to improve actions without improving the system that drives those actions. They are trying to change outcomes without changing the operating system they're running on. Yes, everyone here already has a Life OS. You don't have to download it. You don't have to install it. You're living by it now. Your patterns, your habits, your routines, your thinking. The problem is, most people are running a system they did not choose, did not design, and haven't updated since age 16. It's automatic and accidental. And you'll be amazed how many people keep asking for a better life while running yesterday's programming. The great divide in life is simple. The few design their life on purpose. The many live their life on accident. And the ones who design it, those few, their results aren't miracles. No, they are simply the natural outcome of a well-built system. You don't need more motivation, you need more structure. You don't need a better mood, you need a better model. So today, we're going to talk about design, how to build a life OS that makes success predictable, not mysterious. A life OS based on simple disciplines, daily habits, weekly reflection, monthly improvements. A life OS that keeps you growing year after year instead of repeating the same year 10 times. Because here's a truth to remember. Don't wish for a better life. Design one. Once you learn to design your days, you won't have to chase consistency. It will follow you. Once you build the right structure, discipline becomes easier. Once you upgrade the system, the results upgrade with it. So let's begin this journey of design. Let's talk about how to architect a life that works, a system you can rely on, and a plan you can live by. Because the next parts of this talk will show you exactly how to build it piece by piece, principle by principle. Now let's begin with the foundation, the part most people skip. And it's why their results wobble, their consistency falls apart, and their habits never quite take root. The foundation of your life OS isn't your schedule or your planner or your discipline. No, it begins with your philosophy. Your philosophy is the master program. It's the code that runs everything else. Philosophy drives attitude. Attitude drives actions. Actions drive results. And results build your lifestyle. Everything traces back to what you think about, what you believe about yourself, what you accept as truth. Most people try to change their actions while their philosophy stays the same. And that never works. You can't plant weeds and expect roses. You can't run old thinking and expect new results. Some people say, I'll start being disciplined once I feel motivated. But that's philosophy, talking philosophy that says feelings should lead. Jim Rohn's philosophy says principles lead, feelings follow. And that one shift can rebuild an entire life. So what is a personal operating system? It's the lens you see the world through. It's the logic behind your choices. It's the quiet conclusions you've made about effort, responsibility, success, time, and potential. And here's the great discovery. You are not stuck with the operating system you inherited. You can rewrite it. You can redesign it. You can rebuild it. I like to tell people, if your philosophy is 5 cents, your income will be 5 cents. But if your philosophy becomes rich, your life becomes rich. And rich philosophy doesn't mean money. It means depth, insight, clarity, direction. A rich philosophy says, my future is worth my effort. Small disciplines matter. I am responsible. Not the weather, not the government, not my circumstances. If I change, everything changes for me. So before we talk about habits, Before we talk about structure, before we talk about consistency, we must fix the foundation, the philosophy. Because here's the truth. Your results can never rise above the level of your philosophy. If your philosophy says, I can't do much, then your actions won't do much. But if your philosophy says, I am capable of improvement, you begin to act like someone worthy of improvement. And this is where your life OS begins. With 3 philosophical pillars. 1, clarity, know where you're going. 2, structure, know how you'll get there. 2, 3, consistency, show up whether you feel like it or not. With these 3, life becomes intentional instead of accidental, purposeful instead of reactive, directed instead of distracted. This is the system the few live by. It's not complicated, but it is deliberate. So in this next part, we'll move from philosophy to picture, from foundation to blueprint. Because every great system begins with a vision of the future. And if the philosophy is the soil, the vision is the seed. Now that we've set the foundation, your philosophy, it's time for the next step in building your life OS, your vision, or what I like to call your future file. And let me tell you, this may be the most powerful exercise you ever do. You see, human beings are pulled by pictures. The clearer the picture, the stronger the pull. The weaker the picture, the easier the drift. Most people never sit down long enough to design a clear picture of the person they want to become. They have vague wishes. I want to do better. I want more income. I want better health. But wishes don't guide behavior. Pictures do. Wishes evaporate. Pictures endure. And believe me, your mind works night and day to bring its pictures to life, whether you choose them or not. So let me ask you a simple question, a Jim Rohn question. What will the next 1 year look like for you? What about the next 3, the next 10? Most people never consider 10 years. But 10 years will come anyway. The question is whether you arrive by design or by default. I learned early that you should never start the day until you've finished it on paper. That means you create the blueprint before laying the bricks. The same is true for your life. Don't start the year, the month, or even the week until you've finished it on paper. That's the principle behind the future file. Let me show you what goes inside. First, identity goals. Who do you want to become? Not just what you want to have. Having is easy. Becoming is the real work. And becoming precedes having. You don't get the fortune before you become the person capable of handling it. So write down the traits, the disciplines, the values, the attitude of your future self. Second, lifestyle goals. How do you want your future days to look? What kind of home, health, relationships, energy, environment? Remember, success is not just measured by achievements. It's measured by mornings and evenings. It's the kind of life you live between your obligations. Third, skill goals. What skills must you acquire to build the future you imagine? Skills are the great equalizer. Skills turn effort into results. Skills turn ambition into capability. If you want the next decade to look different from the last, learn something new, practice something daily, sharpen something weekly. Fourth, contribution goals. In Jim Rohn's world, success always includes giving, because if your future only benefits you, it's too small. Who will your success serve? Who will it lift? Who will it inspire? When you write these things down, don't rush. Don't write timidly. Don't write as the person you were yesterday. Write as the person you intend to become. Let your imagination stretch its legs a little. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a clear direction, a good picture, a life worth pursuing. Because once the vision is clear, discipline becomes easier, habits become meaningful, action becomes natural. Your vision becomes the fuel for your system. Without it, you're trying to climb a mountain you can't see. With it, the very same journey becomes exciting, even during the difficult days. So build your future file, put it in writing, review it often, upgrade it yearly, let it become the North Star of your life OS. Because in the next section, we take that vision and bring it down to the ground into the structure of a single day. And once your days are designed, your life follows. Now that you've built your future file, the picture of the life you intend to live, it's time to bring that future into the present. And how do we do that? Not with giant leaps, not with heroic bursts of effort, but with a daily design. Let me tell you something I discovered early in my career. The major value of the day is not what you get, it's who you become. And if you use your days well, your future is practically guaranteed. If you waste your days, your future will always be a mystery. See, most people do not lose their way in a year. They lose their way in a single day, and then another, and then another. They don't drift because life is complicated. They drift because the day is unplanned. When the day lacks structure, distractions become easy. And when distractions are easy, consistency becomes impossible. So if you want a better year, design a better day. If you want a better life, design a better routine. Let me give you a simple formula, a Rohn-style daily framework you can start using tomorrow. It's not complicated. In fact, the simpler the design, the more powerful it becomes. First, the morning clarity ritual. 10 minutes. That's all you need. Review your goals. Read a paragraph from a good book. Remind yourself who you intend to become. Most people start the day by checking the world's noise instead of checking their own direction. But remember, when you start the day with intention, the day follows intention. Next, your work blocks. 2 to 4 hours of focused effort on your top priorities, your future-building tasks, not your urgent distractions. Now, this is important. Most people let the urgent steal from the important, but your future is built by important activities done consistently. So assign your important tasks a protected block of time. Guard it. Make it sacred. Then, learning time. 30 minutes a day. Read, study, take notes, reflect. Because if you stop learning, your OS stops upgrading. And when your OS stops upgrading, your results stop improving. I used to tell people, a book a month will change your bank account. A book a week will change your life. It's still true. Then, health time. Move your body. Strengthen it. Honor it. You don't need a gym membership. You need a commitment. The body is the support system for the mind. A strong body makes a disciplined mind easier to maintain. And finally, the evening review. 10 minutes. Look back at your day and ask, did I follow the plan? Did I honor my word? Did I invest in my future or retreat to my comfort? The review isn't about guilt, it's about guidance. You can't improve tomorrow if you don't understand today. Now, some people say, Jim, that seems simple. Exactly. That's why it works. Greatness is built on simple, repeatable disciplines. And remember this, minor improvements repeated daily create major results over time. Your daily OS doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be deliberate. Your future file becomes your direction. Your daily OS becomes your vehicle. One gives clarity, the other gives movement, and together they create momentum. Because in the next section, we'll zoom out from the day and talk about something just as important, your weekly OS, the review and rhythm that keeps you on track. Now let's step back and look at the bigger rhythm of your life, the weekly cycle. If the day is your unit of discipline, the week is your unit of measurement. And let me tell you, this is where transformation truly begins. Because you can work hard, you can stay busy, you can fill your days with activity, but without review, there is no improvement. Without reflection, there is no correction. Without measurement, there is no mastery. I've always told people, make measurable progress in reasonable time. That means don't wait 6 months to discover you've been walking in the wrong direction. Don't wait until December to realize your January goals never made it past week 2. Catch your drift early. Catch your mistakes while they're small. Catch your patterns while they're correctable. That's the purpose of the weekly OS, a personal meeting with yourself. The most important meeting of your life. Not with the boss, not with the team, no. With the one person responsible for your results, you. Here's the agenda for your weekly meeting. It doesn't require an hour. It requires honesty. First question, what worked? Celebrate the wins, even the small ones. You'd be amazed how many people forget to acknowledge their own progress. And when you forget your progress, you lose enthusiasm for the process. So recognize what you did well. A little recognition fuels a lot of consistency. Second question, what didn't work? Study your errors. Not to punish yourself, but to instruct yourself. Remember my old line, failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. When you review weekly, those errors don't have a chance to repeat for months. You catch them early, like pulling weeds before they take over the garden. Third question, what did I avoid and why? Avoidance reveals your next breakthrough. The task you keep skipping is the one that matters most. The conversation you keep postponing, the skill you keep resisting, the routine you keep breaking, those are doorways to your next level. And the weekly review shines a light on them. Fourth question, what needs sharpening? Maybe your morning routine is getting sloppy. Maybe your reading habit is inconsistent. Maybe your environment is distracting you more this week than last. The weekly review is where you tighten the bolts, sharpen the edges, and reinforce the disciplines. Fifth question, who did I become this week? This one is pure Jim Rohn. Because the real benefit of the week is not what you achieved, it's who you became in the process. Did you become more responsible, more disciplined, more aware, or more distracted, more reactive, more inconsistent? This weekly meeting keeps you honest, keeps you aligned, and keeps you growing. Without it, the drift takes over. With it, your life OS stays clean, updated, and reliable. Think of it like maintenance, just like you maintain a car, maintain a home, maintain a business. You must maintain yourself. Because next, we zoom out one more level. If the weekly OS gives you rhythm, the monthly OS gives you evolution. Now let's zoom out just a little further and talk about the monthly rhythm, the upgrade cycle of your life OS. If the week is your moment of reflection, the month is your moment of redirection. It's when you step back and evaluate the trajectory of your life with enough distance to see patterns, trends, and habits that either move you forward or quietly pull you backward. See, most people bring last year into this year unchanged. Same habits, same routines, same excuses, same associations, same thinking. And then they wonder why January looks like December and why life keeps repeating itself like an old song on loop. But life does not improve by chance. It improves by correction, by upgrade, by design. And that's what the monthly OS is all about. Every month, you sit down with yourself and run a simple 3-part protocol. Not complicated, not overwhelming, just honest. Because honesty is the beginning of progress. Here it is. 1. Keep. What worked? Identify the habits, routines, and behaviors that produced growth. Maybe your morning reading is sharpening your mind. Maybe your evening review is helping you stay consistent. Maybe your exercise routine is building discipline. Whatever is working, keep it. Success leaves clues, but it also leaves systems. Protect the systems that serve you. 2. Improve. What is working but sloppy? You see, some habits are good but inconsistent. Some routines exist but need tightening. Some skills are developing but need refinement. This is where you sharpen. Monthly improvement multiplies your results because small corrections compound over time. A small improvement each month creates a transformed life in a year. 3. Remove. What is slowing you down? This is the hard one. Because everyone has 2 sets of habits, the ones that push them forward and the ones that quietly hold them back. Removing is the art of letting go of the drain, the distraction, the inefficiency, the time wasters. Sometimes it's a habit. Sometimes it's a pattern. And sometimes it's an association. Jim Rohn's old wisdom still holds. You must sometimes prune the tree to let it grow. Removing is pruning. It's making space for better things to take root. Now let me tell you why this protocol works. It prevents the drift from becoming permanent. It ensures that every month you are slightly better, slightly sharper, slightly more aligned than the month before. And over 12 cycles, those small upgrades create a life that looks dramatically different. The monthly OS also includes a few Rohn-style questions worth asking. Are my goals still big enough? Is my environment supporting my growth or distracting from it? Am I operating like the person in my future file or the person from my past? What value did I produce this month? What did I learn? What did I overcome? These questions keep you awake. And that's the key. Most people aren't lazy, they're simply asleep to their patterns. The monthly review wakes you up. It recenters your philosophy. It ensures your life OS stays updated, relevant, intentional, because here's the truth. Life will not automatically organize itself in your favor. You must intervene. And the monthly OS is that intervention. A checkpoint, a recalibration, a course correction. Fail to do it, and a year drifts by. Do it consistently, and you experience 12 opportunities to restart, refresh, and redirect. Now, once your days are designed, and your weeks reviewed, and your months upgraded, there is one more factor that determines whether your life OS truly works: your environment. The people, places, and inputs surrounding your life. And that's where we're heading next. Now, let me tell you something I learned a long time ago, something my mentor drilled into my thinking until it became part of the way I lived. Your environment is shaping you every single day, whether you notice it or not. And it shapes you silently. It shapes you subtly. It shapes you consistently, which means your environment can either be the greatest ally of your life OS or the quiet saboteur that pulls you right back into the patterns you're trying to escape. See, most people believe they have a discipline problem. But if you study closely, you'll often find they have an environment problem, because the environment always wins. Put a disciplined person in a chaotic environment long enough, and their structure begins to wobble. Put a distracted person in a well-designed environment, and suddenly consistency becomes easier. Why? Because your surroundings influence your decisions before discipline ever gets a chance. Jim Rohn said it best: you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But it's not just the people, it's the spaces, the sounds, the habits, the energy, the atmosphere. It's the room you sit in. Your life OS needs a supportive environment the way a seed needs good soil. If the soil is wrong, even the best seeds struggle. If the soil is rich, even an average seed begins to grow. So let's break this down. Because your environment has 3 major layers, and each one affects your consistency more than you think. First, your physical environment, your home, your desk, your workspace. For some people, their physical environment is a minefield of distraction, clutter, noise, disorganization, temptation. And they wonder why they feel overwhelmed. But if your environment sends the message chaos, don't expect your mind to respond with clarity. A clean desk, a quiet corner, a tidy home, these aren't luxuries. They're part of a system. They reduce friction. They remove excuses. They make growth easier. Second, your digital environment. Your apps, notifications, feeds, subscriptions, the invisible forces shaping your attention. Let me clue you in on something. Every ding of your phone is someone else's agenda invading your day. Most people let their devices design their schedule. Their digital world is noisy, demanding, and distracting. They say they have no focus, but the truth is their OS is overloaded. So take back control. Turn off what steals from you. Turn on what builds you. Technology should be a tool for your growth, not a trap for your potential. Third, your social environment. And this one can change your entire life. The people around you influence your beliefs, your standards, your habits, your expectations. Spend too much time with complainers, and you become one. Spend time with dreamers, and you start dreaming bigger. Spend time with disciplined people, and your own discipline grows just by proximity. That's why Jim Rohn taught, stand guard at the door of your mind. Some people need to be invited closer. Some need to be moved further away. Not out of arrogance, but out of responsibility. Responsibility to your future. Responsibility to your potential. Responsibility to your life OS. Your environment should whisper encouragement, not excuses. It should align with your goals, not argue with them. It should make the right choice easier, not harder. Let me give you a simple rule. Design your environment so well that consistency becomes the path of least resistance. When you do that, your life OS becomes unstoppable. Because now you have a philosophy. You have a vision. You have a daily design. You have a weekly review. You have a monthly upgrade. and you have the environment to support it, you're building something powerful, something most people never create. A life that runs on intention instead of accident. Now, there's one more layer we must talk about. Once you've built the environment, there's something that brings all these pieces together, something that turns discipline into data and effort into evidence. And that is your score-keeping system. Now let's add the next essential component of your life OS, one that separates the wanderer from the achiever, the hopeful from the intentional, the busy from the productive. It's what I call the score-keeping system. And let me tell you why this is so important. Human beings improve the moment they start tracking their behavior. Not because the tracking itself has magic power, but because measurement creates awareness. And awareness creates correction. You see, most people go through life with a vague sense of how they're doing. They think they worked hard this week. They hope they were consistent. They guess their habits are improving. But when you live by guesses, you live without growth. When you live without measurement, you fall into the drift. And the drift doesn't take you upward, it takes you sideways. It leaves you busy, but not better. I learned early on that you cannot manage what you do not measure. And Jim Rohn was a great believer in record keeping, writing things down, counting, tracking, reviewing. Why? Because numbers tell the truth. Numbers don't lie. Numbers show you whether your habits are real or imaginary. Numbers reveal patterns you would otherwise miss. And they turn ambition into accountability. So let's talk about what your life scorecard should measure. Keep it simple, but keep it honest. First, measure your habits. Not your intentions, your habits. Did you read today? Yes or no? Did you exercise? Yes or no? Did you follow the plan? Yes or no? No emotion? No stories. Just truth. Habits are the building blocks of identity, and identity shapes destiny. So track them daily, tally them weekly, and review them monthly. Second, measure your progress. What did you complete this week? What did you build? What did you improve? Some people mistake movement for progress. They stay busy, yet go nowhere. But when you measure meaningful progress, projects completed, skills practiced, tasks finished, you learn whether your work is actually working. Third, measure your learning. What did you learn this week? What book did you study? What insight did you capture? What mistake taught you something? Learning must be recorded or it evaporates. A mind that does not measure its learning eventually stops growing. Fourth, measure your finances, your income, your expenses, your savings, your investments. Not because money is everything, but because money is a reflection of decisions. And decisions are a reflection of your philosophy. Measurement brings awareness, and awareness brings control. Fifth, measure your consistency. Give yourself a weekly score. Maybe it's 5 out of 7. Maybe it's 3 out of 7. Maybe it's 7 out of 7. The goal isn't perfection, it's information. A low consistency score is not a reason to quit. It's a reason to refine. And a high consistency score builds a quiet self-respect that money cannot buy. Let me give you one more thought. Measurement builds confidence. Because confidence is not a gift, it's evidence. Every check mark in your scorecard is evidence that you are becoming the person you said you would be. Evidence that your word means something. Evidence that your future is being built brick by brick, day by day. And here's the beauty of scorekeeping. It turns life into a game you can win. It gives you metrics, targets, milestones. It turns abstract goals into concrete actions. It transforms I hope I improve into I can see my improvement. And believe me, when you can see it, you will keep going. So with the scorekeeping system in place, your life OS becomes measurable, upgradable, and dependable. But we're not done yet. Because all these pieces, philosophy, vision, daily routine, weekly review, monthly upgrade, environment, measurement, are leading towards something bigger, identity. When discipline becomes habit, and habit becomes who you are, everything changes. And that brings us to the next part of our journey. Now let's bring all these pieces together and enter what I consider the great turning point in personal development, the moment when discipline becomes habit and habit becomes identity. Because this is where an average life becomes an extraordinary one. This is where the struggle starts to fade and the momentum begins to rise. And this is where your life OS stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like you. I told people for years, we all must suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline is painful in the beginning, not because it's impossible, but because it's unfamiliar. Discipline is denying the old self so the new self can breathe. It's uncomfortable, but only at first. And that's the secret most people never wait long enough to discover. Discipline gets easier. Let me show you the progression, the loop of mastery. Stage 1, discipline. This is the beginning. The awkward stage. The part where you do the thing you said you would do even when you don't feel like it. The part where the old habits pull you back and the new habits feel fragile. But this is where character is born, when you act based on principle, not emotion. When you show up, not because it feels good, but because you said you would. And every time you honor that promise, you plant a seed of confidence. Stage 2, habit. Do something for a week, and it's discipline. Do something for a month, and it becomes familiar. Do something for 3 months, and it becomes a rhythm. This is the stage where the friction drops. You no longer debate whether to do it, you simply do it. You start to realize that good habits don't take time, they give time. They give you clarity, energy, direction, and your future begins to feel less like a dream and more like a destination. Stage 3, identity. This is the breakthrough. This is the shift. Every person is chasing, even if they don't know it. Because once your behavior becomes part of your identity, the game changes. You no longer say, I'm trying to be consistent. You say, I'm a consistent person. You no longer say, I'm trying to get in shape. You say, I'm someone who trains. You no longer say, I'm trying to read more. You say, I'm a learner. I'm a builder of my mind. You see, identity locks the door behind you. Once you become the kind of person who does these things by nature, inconsistency feels out of place. The old habits no longer feel like home. And that's when you can finally say, this is who I am now. But let me tell you the real beauty of the mastery loop. It compounds. The discipline you build in one area spills into another. The habits you strengthen in your health improve your business. The identity you shape in your work spills into your relationships. That's why I often said, how you do anything is how you do everything, because internal order spreads. Internal strength multiplies. Internal consistency becomes external success. And here's one more truth. Identity creates endurance. When you believe your actions really matter, you stay the course longer than the average person. You push through discouragement. You outlast the emotional dips. You overcome the temptation to quit. Why? Because quitting conflicts with who you are. And when your identity conflicts with your excuses lose. So let me summarize this great loop of mastery. Discipline creates habits. Habits create identity. Identity creates destiny. And once you reach this place, once your life OS becomes expression instead of effort, you no longer fight for consistency. Consistency fights for you. Now, we're almost at the end of our journey. And in the next section, we'll bring everything together, tie the bow, and set you on your way with clarity and confidence.